do you do you have any sort of grading in your industries? I think of the
Yeah,
sports
that's
card industry, right? You have the PSA, you can go from 10 all the way to one, and it's, they try to be pretty transparent there, and it's cool because it gives collectors a sense of where where they stand, right? Some people may be totally okay with an 8 or a 7, whereas other people just like, I just want the mint, right? Like, does that, especially when you are buying antiques and vintages, right? That's it's part of the game. So I'm curious what sort of
yeah, yeah.
education or grading you give to your customers there.
Yeah, I mean, we try and say like if you're buying this watch online, it should be the equivalent of physically holding it. That it should be as clear as that, right? And you just know exactly what you're buying. I mean, we've had instances where we've we've been just too honest, right? And not too honest, but we've been too descriptive in the way that we describe. So something might have like the tiniest little like hairline scratch, and we'll go, "There's a scratch, on the bezel at 6 or whatever," and then somebody's like, "Oh God, there's a scratch on the bezel at 6." Or you get it with like kind of movement performance, right? So you'll have a time graph or reading. It'll have the kind of rate, how well it's keeping time. You'll have beat error, you'll have amplitude, and all of these sorts of kind of readings that people won't commonly understand. I mean, some people will, but people won't commonly understand. And we can go, "Oh, it's not keeping very good time," and then people go, "Oh no, I don't want it," or we can go, "It's keeping great time," and it's kind of getting that balance because for us, it's not, we are not trying to deliver like a new watch. If we try and deliver every watch as a new watch, the seller's going to get a terrible price because we're just going to load in so much cost. And like, really, it's basically saying we want the seller and the buyer to both be really happy with this. We want them both to walk away going like really chuffed to bits with that. And that's not the same as like it being entirely brand new. Um, so yeah, there's a bit. I think that grading process is a really good way of approaching that. It's actually something we're looking at the minute. Presumably, do you guys have that challenge in
It doesn't
wine?
exist in the wine world,
Yeah,
but I would love to create it because, right, like same with all the different watch conditions and all those things that you said that honestly sound like foreign language to me. There's a ton of wine jargon I could throw at you as well. Every single component of the bottle and the cork are all like meticulously analyzed, right?
wow.
That's what
So
our
it's the physical
warehouse
bottle
team does.
as well as the wine
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, it totally is. Like, the fill level of the bottle, the condition of the cork and the labels, if they're scuffed, like all of that kind of factors in, right? If you're a collector who's like, hey, I don't judge a book by its cover as long as the inside is good, I'll drink it. That's totally okay. But if other people are more appearance focused, they might not want that, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there is no standardized grading on how to apply premiums or discounts based on those factors, but I think in the spirit of transparency, it's something that needs to be built, and is definitely a
But it's
medium
yeah,
term goal for us to build out ourselves.
but it's transparency rather than like honesty, isn't it? Right, and that like honesty implies some sort of judgment. It almost needs you to go, "Oh, this has a problem," or "No, this doesn't have a problem." And
Yeah,
actually, I think for us, it's going like, we're not going to, there will be things where we go, "This has got a problem." But
Yeah.
actually, it's a point we go, "Look, this is, somebody will be super happy with this, right? It'll be absolute, joy." And so it's just transparency and making sure they've got all of the information that they possibly need when hitting that buy button. Or
Yeah, well, I've got so many horror stories about condition that we haven't got enough time on this podcast, genuinely. I'll keep it brief. We do have grading in the art world. Obviously, it's slightly different to watches and wines because they're much larger goods, if you will, and they've been stored and framed and transported in many different wonderful and weird ways. But yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm super anal about condition. I won't lie. It's the one thing in the art world that auction houses, dealers, and galleries get away with blue murder with their condition reports. They're
really,
so, yeah. I mean, you look at it and you think, wow, like an intern's probably written this. Like, genuinely, it's that bad. And yeah, I mean, I learned my lesson. One of the first Banksy's I ever bought was framed grannies. It looked beautiful in the frame. I thought, yeah, I've got a really good deal here. Had it reframed, took it out the frame, and I mean, there was so many issues with it you wouldn't believe.
really.
But yeah, like I learned a good lesson there. I've never sold anything in the frame. Everything that we sell we make sure that it's deframed, we have a full condition report carried out. And again, that comes down to transparency, like you mentioned, Christy, and, you know, noting any buyers that, you know, it's got this defect or that defect. But, you know, also with the art industry, and I'm sure that the wine and watch are the same, you know, works in excellent condition will have a higher value than, you know, works with condition issues. So it really just, it goes back to your grading system. You know, we work off poor for works that are in poor condition, fair, good, very good, excellent. So we sort of got 5 points really.
Yeah.